Should you hire a financial coach for your retirement plan? By the end of this video, you will gain clarity for your personal retirement plan and have action items to secure your retirement.
To learn more about securing your retirement and all the different elements you need to know, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified when we post a video every Monday. We have helped hundreds of our clients gain clarity and get on the path to a comfortable and happy retirement. Now it's your turn. Let's dive in. So today we have Vix Monroe. Vix is an entrepreneur, author, money enthusiast, and eternal optimist. Her background is in accountancy, economics, and pricing with a career spanning over 30 years. And she's passionate about money, investing in the economy, having created her own multi-million investment portfolio. But her main mission, and what we're going to talk about today, is to help women create and build wealth and retire rich in every single way. So Vix, thank you very much for joining us from all the way over the pond in London.
Yeah, great. I'm excited to be here chatting with you two.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So I say we dive right in, and if you could just kind of give us a little bit about your background and tell us, where you started and how you kind of landed where you are today.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I started off in New Zealand. I'm now in London in the UK. So I started far away, and I come from small town New Zealand. And I came to the UK when I was 23 years old, and I had £30 in my pocket, which at the time, it cost me £6. So a fifth of that amount of money paid for my weekly travel card on the Underground here in London. So I didn't have that much money. I was lucky that I had a friend who had a floor that I could sleep on. And when I say a floor, I mean a floor. I was just sleeping on a yoga mat because that's all I had. But yeah, I come from New Zealand. My parents were very frugal. So I was brought up to be very, very frugal. My mother would do things like buy men's jumpers from the charity shop, unpick them, and then use the wool to knit jumpers for the kids. My dad would do things like he'd go to a bakery and buy the bread for the week and put it in the freezer, because it was a lot cheaper to do that than buy it from the corner shop. But obviously he didn't take into account his time or the petrol to get there and things like that. And yeah, so I kind of grew up with frugal parents. I think another thing that was significant kind of in my money journey was my mother died when I was 11. So I kind of had this view also that life could be short. You've got to have a good time. So one of the things that, I talk about a lot in terms of money is it's not just about saving for the future and investing for the future. And that is, one of my priorities about retiring rich. It's actually about having a good time along the way as well. So yeah, that's kind of like a pretty quick background. But in terms of my interest in investing, I was a bit of a late starter, really. I was in my 30s when I started. I'm in my 50s now. So I'm sure, I've been around for a while, been around the block. Don't know if you have that expression in the US.
We do.
You do, yeah. And so I was a bit of a late starter. In my 20s, I was all for just having a good time, really, like particularly travel, because, if you grow up in New Zealand, even a flight to Australia is, 3.5 hours, but you come to London, you can be in Paris in an hour, Italy in 2 hours, Spain, you've got everything on your doorstep, really. So I spent a lot of my money traveling, exploring Europe, having a good time. And it wasn't until, and then I also went back to studying, and I was actually 33 or almost 33 when I bought my flat. So I bought an apartment for myself to live in. So, and I know the US, in the US, people are, all about trying to buy a home and get on the housing ladder. And it's similar here in the UK. So I did that at 33. So I was older than a lot of other people that had started younger. I have 4 sisters back in New Zealand, 3 of which are younger than me. They all had houses. So I was a bit of a late starter. And because I'd just finished my master's degree, I'd gone back to study. I also didn't have any money for a deposit. So I actually borrowed that. I actually took a car loan out. Don't tell the bank. And so got a car loan. I already had a car, luckily. And I used that car loan as a deposit for my flat because I really wanted to get on the housing ladder. I was also nervous about it because I was doing it on my own. Because house prices had dropped quite a lot. So timing was really on my side. House prices had dropped a lot. I was nervous they might keep dropping, but at the same time, I kind of thought it's a good time to get in, good opportunity. And I was actually really lucky. I pretty much timed it right, which was coincidental, really. And then it was about 3 years later that I started investing in property myself. So it was 1999. And I'd read the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. I think that came out a few years earlier. I think it was about 96, 97. So I'd read that book and thought, yeah, that's a good way to make money. I need to invest in property. And in that 3 years, the flat I had bought had gone up in value quite a lot. Because prior to that, there'd been, quite a big drop in property prices here in the UK. So I was able to remortgage my flat, take some equity out, and use that equity for the deposit for my first investment flat. And, it all went really smoothly. So I was kind of like, and then I did it again and again. So that's really how I got started. I started late and I started in property.
Very good. So now I know that, I guess this is at least what we see on your website, and I'm assuming this is what your company name is Money Badassery. How did you?
Yeah, Money Badassery.
Yeah. So tell us, how did you get there to having this, and then what is that? What is your goal with that particular company, and what's the purpose of it?
Yeah, well, I suppose so. Yeah, as I said, just to continue my investment journey a bit further, actually. So I was really into property, and it was 1999 that I bought my first investment property. So around 21 years ago. And so that's the time over which I've been building wealth. And I have been successful in doing that. So it does show that over, a period of time, people can build wealth. Because one of the things I have, and I don't know if you find this, I have people come to me in their 40s, mid 40s, and say, I've left it too late. I'm like, absolutely not. 20 years is actually a long time. People, it's that saying, isn't it? I can't remember how it goes, but it's something like, people usually overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year and underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years. And 20 years in terms of wealth generation is a long time. But yeah, after about 10 years of investing in property, I started to think, actually, I've kind of got all my eggs in one basket here. I've been really focused on property. By that stage, I've read a few more books that were talking a bit about diversification. And I decided that I was going to not buy any more properties for a while, and I was going to invest my money in other areas. So it was around so it's been about 10 years that I've really been focused on other assets as well. So equities, stocks and shares, fixed income, primarily, bonds, also commodities, particularly precious metals like gold and silver. And then in 2017, I also got into crypto. So as a result of that, and over a 20-year period, I've been really focused on investing, and I have managed to create and build wealth for myself. I don't come from a rich family. As I said, I come from frugal parents, and I've been working, I've had my own business, and it was B2B, selling into corporates. And I just decided, actually, this isn't what I want to be doing. I mean, I am still doing it, by the way. I'm running more than one business at the moment, but I'm scaling that down and scaling up my other business. And my focus is on women, really. I think women have particular needs with refinances. I mean, we have a gender pay gap, but we also actually have a gender investment gap. More men invest than women, and more men are generally more confident in investing than women. So my mission really is to financially empower lots and lots of women around the world. Personal finance can be scary for many people, yet it's not rocket science. I mean, I'm sure you see that a lot as well.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's not rocket science by any means, but there are certain steps that you should take, and there's mistakes or blunders that could really set you back. And so it's not rocket science, but yeah, there is some science to it, and there's a good aspect of timing too. Starting earlier is always going to help you out. Starting later, you got to work a little bit harder, but it's very possible to do quite a bit in 20 years, like you said. So Money Badassery is kind of your company name, and your mission is to help out women and kind of take them through your journey of learning about different investments, learning about how to get your retirement on track, and ultimately your slogan is, hey, retire rich.
Yeah.
So
and why not retire rich?
Yeah, why not? I mean, you work so hard. why not be able to retire rich and enjoy it? So, so what would you say that in my eyes, that makes you kind of a financial coach to help give steps to help people understand what they've got and how to better utilize it, how to better leverage it. So what do you think it means to be a financial coach?
Yeah, I suppose I think of myself more of a wealth coach because my focus is really on creating and building wealth. And I would say a financial coach was a bit broader than that. But I mean, it's semantics, isn't it? It's whatever you like to call it. So I see what I do as coaching clients to manage their money and create wealth. Also empowering them to take control of their finances. And one of the things, and actually also to look at the emotional side of money. I actually think the emotional side of money is often forgotten about. Yeah, it's also really important. So it's that whole money mindset thing. And I don't know about you two, but I grew up being told money doesn't grow on trees, and you've got to work really hard to earn money, and lots of things that we all grow up with about money, like our subconscious beliefs. And I think that's really an important part of it as well. But I see my role really as guiding people a lot. And it depends on who I'm working with. Some people want their hand held more than others. And one of the things I think I do a lot of, I ask a lot of what if questions, because, people come to me and say, should I do this? And I said, okay. And it's partly to understand their risk. Okay, if you do this, what if this happens? And what if this happens? And what if this happens? So that they're actually aware of the way things could go. Because I think a lot of people aren't, particularly women, a lot of women aren't comfortable, or they're not confident about their finances. And so a lot of women that come to me, a lot of the time they actually just want someone to talk things through with. They kind of want, to do their due diligence. And, I remember I said just before that, when I bought my flat for the first time, I bought it on my own. I was nervous. Am I doing the right thing? It was 21 years ago now. I actually would have liked to have sat down with someone and kind of discussed my concerns. Someone who had done these things, someone who knew about money. So the only people I could talk about were friends who'd maybe bought a house or not bought a house, but they didn't ask me the kind of questions that I think I would have liked to be asked. Of course, that's all with hindsight, which is a fine thing.
Yeah. So I've got kind of a two-part question here, but the first part is, so in your what you do as a financial coach, it's not that you're telling somebody, hey, you should invest in this or that necessarily. You're trying to just help people guide through and maybe figure out what it is that they want to do. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, I'm not a financial advisor. In the UK, in order to give financial advice, you have to have been approved by the Financial Conduct Authority. So I'm not a financial advisor. I can't say you should invest your money in this stock or share or do this. I can't do that at all. What I do is, pretty much exactly what you said, guide people, ask them, so it really depends on the client, but I suppose what I do is someone comes and wants to, spend some time with me. The first thing I do is review. Where are you? What assets do you have? What liabilities do you have? What's your level of debt? What's your risk threshold? I think risk threshold is very, very important. So start off, where are you, what's your relationship with money? Start off with where you are now, and then look at where do you want to be? What's your vision? How do you want to live your life in the future? And then start talking about how they might get there. And there's many ways that they can get there. And then it's kind of understanding what they want and what works for them. And, in many cases, people's vision for the future is going, or in some, not in many cases, in some cases, the way people want to live in the future is actually going to cost them a lot more than they think. So then they've got to reconsider, okay, is that what I really want? Because everything has to be affordable, doesn't it? You have to be able to afford it. Or do I need to be making more money, spending less money, so I've got more to invest now so I can actually afford what I really want in the future? So there's a lot of questions like, okay, because, every financial decision you make is actually a trade-off. I can either spend this money now on something I really love and I want to do, or I can invest that for my future self. So, or there's so many trade-offs, and that's part of what I do. I talk people through what those trade-offs are so that they're very clear about how they want to use their money. So it's really about how they manage their money and how they can create and build wealth. So I also do a lot of education alongside that about wealth creation and wealth building as well.
Okay, good. Thank you. So if somebody's like thinking, okay, I like this idea of having a financial coach, and maybe they're listening to you and everything, what kind of is your process? How does a person, like, what's the steps to take somebody through that approach with you?
Okay, so I have, so people contact me through, just on my website is basically they can, first of all, contact me. They get a 15-minute free kind of consultation to see if we're a right fit, for me to find out what they're looking for, and for them to find out, what I can offer them. And obviously every client is different. Everyone has different needs. Everyone has different level of knowledge about personal finance. And some people want their hand held a lot more, and other people want just more kind of top level guidance. So that's the first step. And then I have a form that they fill in, which is kind of a where are you now form once we've agreed to work together. And that's to understand their situation really, like what are the assets, as I said before, what assets do they have now, what liabilities, what's they're trying to thrash out what their level of risk is. And that's really where we start. And then kind of look at where they want to get to, and depending on how long we're going to work together, what we can actually realistically achieve within that time. But usually what I'm trying to do is to get them to look at, their money coming in, their money coming out, look at how they can actually maximize the surplus money. So the difference between the income and expenditure, so that can go into investing. Talk about what a portfolio is, the types of, assets they should be including in their portfolio. And obviously that's up to them. I'm big into crypto. Not everyone wants to get into crypto. So for some people that's a zero. And some people are much more into equities, and, they want to have a larger proportion of equities in their portfolio than say I personally might have. So it's really about working around the client, their needs and their desires for the future.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's why we were excited to bring you on, because we do something very similar. We manage investments, but what's equally important is we do the retirement planning as well for all of our clients and help them understand, kind of like what you said, money in, money out, cash flows. How's it all going to work through retirement? And everything like that, and leading up to retirement, how do we get there, and the decisions that we got to make in that whole process. So it aligns very well with kind of what you're talking about. But you did mention. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and do you find that most people that come to you actually don't even have a financial plan? They might have some investments, but they actually haven't planned out how much money they're going to need in the future, how they're going to achieve it over the time frame they've got based on different scenarios.
Right. Yeah, we see that all the time. It's kind of, I've built this up. It seems like enough. I think we'll be okay. But, sitting down to actually think about every little thing, it does take some time. It takes some effort, and sometimes that gets put by the wayside. So, but you did mention one thing, and we, as financial advisors, this is a kind of a tricky topic to discuss. We are not currently invested in crypto for any of our clients, and it's a very volatile type of deal, pretty new relatively to the investment world. But you said that you're very interested in it, and you are invested in it. So could you maybe give our listeners just a high level, so they can maybe start to understand what the concept of crypto is, and really specifically what draws you to it? And we've only got a few minutes left here, but I think it's a really interesting topic.
Yeah, well, crypto is essentially, it's a digital asset that uses cryptography. And obviously, and it works on the blockchain, which is a distributed ledger. And if you look at, everyone's heard of Bitcoin, or most people would have heard of Bitcoin, but in actual fact, there's thousands of different cryptocurrencies that are in development, and not all will survive. Some will fail. I'd even go so far as to say many will fail. But Bitcoin's a monster in the crypto space, and there's also Ethereum and Litecoin. But they work on this distributed ledger that all the kind of miners have access to, and it's a decentralized network, so it's out of government or central bank control. So Robert Kiyosaki from Rich Dad Poor Dad calls it the people's money for that reason. And it's, if I was to send some money to you today, I'd have to do it through my bank, so tell my bank to send your bank some money, and who would tell your bank to put it into your account. So the banks in that sense are kind of intermediaries. But if I wanted to send you some Bitcoin, I can have a wallet and you can have a wallet. We both have our public and private keys. Our private keys are like our password, essentially. All I need to know is your public key, and I can then send Bitcoin from my wallet to your wallet, and we don't have to go through the banking system. So because of the technology that's utilized with Bitcoin. So, and it's very secure. It's a very secure payment online. So I kind of think of Bitcoin as kind of like the internet of money, really. And remember, prior to the internet, information was really centralized. If we want information, we had to get it from a library or from a newspaper. Now, with the internet, I can post information and share it with people all over the world. So it's so decentralized now. And I think that's what will happen with money, with cryptocurrency going forward. It's also kind of become a bit like digital gold. It is being used as a store of value at the moment. So I personally see it has a big future, but exactly what that future looks like is hard to know.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask is it the investing side of buying something for the idea of it to grow? Is that what draws you in, or is it more of the future of crypto that draws you in, and that, hey, we may need this as a currency well down the road if it ever does happen? Who knows?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are seeing like Bitcoin as a hedge against the demise of the financial system that we live in today. If you look at the US dollar, I read this, so these might not be true, but Bitcoin's been around for 12 years. And I read somewhere that 75% of money in US dollars, and so of 75% of the current money supply, the US dollar money supply, has been printed since Bitcoin has been on the scene. So, that's hugely inflationary. So that's why I think a lot of people are seeing Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation. And I know that, some of the big corporates that have invested in Bitcoin, like MicroStrategy, the CEO of MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, says that we've now got Tesla that have invested. So I think Bitcoin has potential.
Yeah, well, that's
who knows when.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I tell you, Vix, what you have talked about is obviously a lot of things that make sense, and I'm sure that your assistance, like you said, kind of helps build confidence and helps people kind of maybe figure out how to navigate things, and certainly that's very beneficial. So if somebody is listening and they would like to have a financial coach, somebody to talk things through with, like you described, and maybe go through your process, or they just want to read up more about you, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you or find out more information?
Okay, so first of all, there's my website, www.moneybadassery.com, and that ends in ARY. Some people think it's ERY, it's ARY. And you can set up a meeting with me on my website, or else through Facebook. I have a page called Money Badassery, and I have a free group for women called the Money Badass Community. So Facebook is my main kind of social media platform.
Well, very nice. Well, we certainly do appreciate you taking time out of your day to let us chat with you. And I know that our listeners are going to benefit by just having this, listening to this conversation. So we do appreciate it very much. So we thank you for coming on our show today.
Oh, it's been wonderful. Thank you. It's been great chatting with you both.
We hope this video has given you some confidence and clarity as you plan for a worry-free life in retirement. But what else do you need? We have created a complimentary video course called 3 Keys to Secure Your Retirement. This video walks you through step by step what you need to do to get ready for retirement. You can also check out our podcast called Secure Your Retirement. You can subscribe below. For more retirement tips, watch this video. Create your retirement income plan. Also, click here to subscribe to our podcast, Secure Your Retirement. If you like this video, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends.